The reason I'm making this video is that the instructions that come with this kit are very sparse. There are 3 sentences on this piece of paper. Cut the oil rotor about 22 millimeters. Lists the part number for the replaceable oil filter, and it says to pre-fill the oil hole on the filter before starting the engine. Other than that, there's a very vague black and white image showing the cut oil rotor, the oil housing with one of the screws screwed in, and using this as a template to drill a hole in the case, which we'll go over here in a second. But they may as well have just put the word vague in Italian on here because it's pretty useless. I'm following a thread from the HondaTwins.net website, and these instructions were uploaded by garage guy Chris. So go ahead and follow the link in the description if you would like to see pictures that he uploaded, but I'm just following along with his instructions. On the website or the eBay store, you can find this as part number 50 on the Cappellini Moto.it website, if you want to see it at the source. So that's what you would search this by if you haven't bought it yet. If you have bought it, then this is one of the things that'll come with the kit. It's just this piece of paper telling you what you got. Other than that, you'll also receive the oil filter housing, and it'll come with a oil filter. Looks like this is from a Suzuki of some make and model. Let's see, inside I've pre-soaked my oil filter, so there is some oil in here. Yours will come dry. Other than that, you'll get the oil housing cover. You'll also receive these O-rings, one O-ring for the cover itself. You'll have another O-ring that goes here. That would be one of these 2. On the back side of this housing, you'll have an O-ring. It's already installed, and I don't want to flip the cover over because there's oil in it. There will be another slot for an O-ring, just like this, on one of, I believe, on this hole right here. Also in the kit, you'll receive 3 new cover screws. Notice that one of the 3 is longer than the rest. That is because on the cover itself, one passes through the oil passage, so it has to be longer. Additionally, you'll receive a new O-ring that goes inside of the groove here. So you can see it in the light. Yeah, you can see that. In this groove. So yeah, this is a good time to replace that O-ring. Mine was new, so I'm keeping the one that was in there, and I'm just using the one from the kit. Other things that you will need, none of this is listed in the instructions, but it is in the guide that I'm following. You'll need an M8 by 1.25 tap. You'll need a grub screw, or sometimes they're called set screws. That also needs to be M8 by 1.25. The one I'm using is 6 millimeters long. I'm also using a 6.5 millimeter drill bit. This filter adapter works by rerouting the oil supply passage, which is right here on your case cover, routing it to the inside of this cup, this adapter cup, through the side hole right there that you see. The oil will then flow through the paper media on the filter to the inside of the filter, from the inside of the filter out into this hole in the cover, up this way, out of this hole, from that hole, connecting into the oil supply on the top of the case cover. As you notice, there is no hole on the stock case cover, and that's what we'll be modifying today. So we'll be using the case, the adapter cup, to be a template, and we'll be using that to drill a hole through this cover here. We'll then be tapping the M8 by 1.25 millimeter threads in here, using the grub screw to block this off, and then we'll be able to install everything else after cutting up the stock Oil Slinger cup. We'll do that last. Notice that the oil supply passage is not parallel with the mating surface of the clutch case cover. When you're tapping the M8 by 1.25 threads in this hole, you want to keep that in mind. This hole stock is 7.37 millimeters on my cover. Yours may be slightly different. That is slightly larger than the drill size required for this tap, which should be 6.8 millimeters. I think it'll be fine. The first thing we'll be doing is using the oil cup adapter as a template to drill our new hole into the case. So if we look here, the three of the 4 holes will line up with the screw holes as you rotate it around, just like here. All 3 are lined up, and you'll see you have a 4th hole, if the camera focuses, right here. So what I'll be doing is center punching this hole and drilling it out with 6.5 millimeter drill bit. Don't go too deep. All you need to do is intersect the oil passage shown here. You can see that I'm using 2 original screws that you would use without this adapter to hold the adapter plate down while I center drill this, or center punch it. After using the template, you can now see the new hole we have that intersects with the existing oil supply hole here. After cleaning it out thoroughly using an air gun as well as a Q-tip to get down into the oil supply hole here, there were a couple little shavings left. We are ready to proceed with tapping the M8 by 1.25 threads into the original supply hole, and we'll use the grub screw to block that off. One other note from the instructions that Chris posted: you don't want to tap these threads very deep because the hole we're drilling will intersect this hole. We want the grub screw to kind of bottom out on the threads, but we also want the head of the grub screw to lay beneath, or to be countersunk, if you will, into this bore. That way the body of the adapter doesn't hit that grub screw as it is mounted. At this stage, I have drilled the hole using the template. I've used my grub screw inserted into the hole here. You can see before I inserted the grub screw, I did coat it in a pretty liberal layer of Honda Bond, just as some extra protection against leaks. I then went ahead and added a fairly thin layer of Honda Bond to the cap. Go figure. I added the Honda Bond to the mating surface here. Gonna let that cure up just a little bit and get kind of tacky, and then I'll go ahead and put the oil adapter cup on. The oil adapter plate is now fitted, and we have the oil filter installed with clearly marked out, facing out. We then have the cover plate here with all the O-rings installed. I did put a little grease on the backside of this guy up here, simply because it wouldn't stay in place when I flipped the cover upside down. So a moment of truth. And everything lines up Obviously the spring is pushing up quite a bit on the plate, so I can't do it with one hand, but that's the magic of editing. And here we are with the side cover fully assembled. You can see here Cappellini, Italia. So the side cover is ready to go back on. We still need to cut down the original Slinger cup to make room for the adapter housing. Alright, on to the oil cup. At this point, I've scraped all the gasket off the mating surface. Everything's prepped. What I've gone and done is wedge, or I guess really just drop a penny in between the two gear sets here. That way, when we use our little special tool, I made this out of a 13/16 socket. Spent some time when I initially built the motor and ground this down with the Dremel, kind of cut out these little sections here, and it'll fit into the 4 prongs or slots here on this nut. We'll rotate this counterclockwise. These gears will pinch the penny and allow us to take this cup off. We'll then cut this down to length to about 22 millimeters. I've seen between 22 and 23. I guess we'll go 23. I'm not sure that it really matters. We're kind of splitting hairs at that point. You can very faintly see that I've scribed a mark with my calipers 22 millimeters from the base of the cup here. So this line at 22 millimeters is going to be our cutoff line. Really is 22.5. And here we are with the cut down Slinger cup. Used my hacksaw, just like Alan Milliard would, and then went around the edges with my Dremel and just kind of deburred them to make it look nice. So I'll go ahead and replace that with our hardware here. Go ahead and bend down your tang on this guy right here on the washer to lock everything in place when you reassemble the cup. Alright, here we are back at the bike with the modified Slinger cup reinstalled. Got the nut torqued down to about 35 foot-pounds, and the tang of this bottom tab bent up into the lock position. Got the gasket reinstalled, and we're ready to put the cover back on. Alright, we're all done. The last step in this installation is to pre-fill the oil chamber when you add your oil and before you start the bike. So what you want to do, take this kind of set screw or stop or plug, oil plug, take that out, use a little oil squirt can like this guy. Just fill it up with your normal motorcycle oil and go ahead and pre-fill that chamber up. That'll help prevent oil starvation on startup, and it'll backfill the oil pump and allow the pump to kind of prime. So if you thought this was helpful, go ahead and give me a like if you think I deserved it. Again, just trying to spread the information so it's not all in one place. Thanks, and leave a comment if you have any questions.